Paddy Power stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC. Unlike some other high street bookies, Paddy Power, you beauty!
Hello, one and all, and welcome to the latest Racing Post Cheltenham Postcast preview. And today we're looking at a race, the Ryanair Chase, that not everybody loves, but this is a world of Donald Trump and Brexit, so it's all relative in terms of how we should approach the Ryanair Chase. Joined by an illustrious panel to look at the contest from our sponsors, Mr. Paddy Power, Racing Post Pricewise, very own Tom Siegel, and Mr. Stuart Riley, with more hair on your chops than I've ever seen before. You're growing facial hair.
Yeah, I'm giving it a go. With no hair on top, you've got to try something, haven't you?
Does your mother approve?
No, not really.
No, well, never mind. Tom.
Hello.
You've never been one for facial hair, but you are one, I'm sure.
That's not actually true. I've had many a beard in my time.
Have you really?
Oh, God, yeah. Lots of facial hair.
Not in a byline picture, though.
No, they took it off. I wasn't allowed it.
Yeah, you're probably wise. The Ryanair Chase, earned or so, dominates the market for this one at the moment. Of course, if anything happened to Douvan, God forbid, we'll be looking at a very different champion chase and a very different Ryanair Chase as well. Tom, if we start with yourself, earned or so, a horse who's running in this race because he's not thought good enough to beat his stablemate in the champion chase. That's pretty much fair enough, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Yeah, well, he couldn't win it last year, could he?
No.
And to be honest, the champion chase, I don't think it's his race. I mean, I think the key to the horse is soft ground, isn't it? As soon as he gets on good ground, he's very susceptible. I don't care what trip it is, 2 miles, 5. I personally think he needs 3 miles.
Really?
But yeah, I think he'd be better over 3 miles. I think the King George is his race. I've always said it. But but I think on good ground, he's susceptible in any race he runs in. Look, he's a really good horse, but on good ground, he's just good. Let's put it like that.
Paddy, on good ground, earned or so is just good. Do we agree?
I think I do. Yeah, I think it's the ground is the key to him. Any cut, he's got massive chance. So last year at Cheltenham, Splitter Sacre was very good, obviously on the day, but it was still Splitter Sacre at age 25 or whatever, trying to going past him like he was standing still. And look, it actually looked like, I remember watching the race and we were asking Ruby the next day because it looked like he was still hacking. Yeah. Even though when Splitter Sacre went by him, he just said he had nothing left. He was on fumes at that stage, That was one of the truly great racing moments. That when Sprinter Sacre ranged up alongside Ernest and then went away from him. Yeah, and then Undersue ended up finishing like neck and neck with Special TR, which again is no slouch, but just on the day you would have expected him to be better. So so I think it's the right race for him. I think on good ground, I don't think he'd back him. I think he'd go off 5-1 or something on good ground, if not bigger. I just think that if his form on good ground is way worse than his form on soft ground, basically.
Yes, I mean that is true. His form on good ground is worse than his form on soft ground. The connections do say, ideally, Ruby particularly, that this horse wants soft ground, particularly over 2 miles. But over 2 miles, 5 furlongs, to what extent do you think he could overcome that preference for soft ground? And that's always assuming we get good ground in the middle
absolutely.
of March.
Connections always talk about an extra bit of distance helping to mitigate against soft ground. Desires in a horse, better ground can go over a bit further. So there is the possibility of that. I think the Ryanair is the perfect race for him. It's interesting what Tom says about him thinking he's a King George horse. I actually think, if the Gold Cup is a gruelling race for sort of a classy national type, the Ryanair has far more in common with a King George. It's for a sort of speedy, classy 3-miler type. You need to stay. It's always run at a blistering gallop. It's the 3rd quickest race on speed figures at the festival.
It's a good stat.
9 runnings there's been so far. 5 of them they've made all. 3 of the other 4 have sat 2nd or 3rd. It suits his running style perfectly. The race looks like it'll suit him brilliantly. And if the better ground helps with the extra distance, then I think he's a pretty solid favourite.
You've really done your homework, haven't
you? I know, he gets the prize, and he gets the star for homework.
5 of the 9 winners have made all. What was that? What was the next stat?
Paddy, what have we been doing?
3 of the remaining 4
I've been doing that anyway. I didn't know it was a Ryanair.
5 of the 9 have won. 3 of the remaining 4 have tracked. What was the other one that didn't do any of that?
Dynast,
okay.
Who you think of as being up there, but he sat out the back when he won it.
Yeah. But John Joe's horse won it about 10 times, 3 times. What was that one again?
John Joe's horse.
Trevor Hemmings' horse. Can't remember.
Alberta's Run.
Alberta's Run. Well done.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Riley has pretty much won this debate already then, just because of that performance. The Clarence House Chase moved from Ascot to Cheltenham, brought together Undersow and Uxisandra, as it's likely to do at Cheltenham on the Thursday of the festival. Tom, you've selected Uxisandra at 33 to 1, 25 to 1, non and a no bet. That is impressive, sir. To what extent did you think Uxisandra enhanced his claims for the Ryanair in that race? Because it was a funny series. He got outpaced and then he stayed on again. I mean, were you wholly convinced by what you saw?
Well, yes and no. I mean, look, he went from 33 to 1 to 6 to 1 or whatever he is now, so he clearly didn't do anything too wrong.
No.
And I think the thing was, look, he was on his first run back from, 600 days off or whatever it was, and Barry Geraghty was at pains to give him as easy a time as he could. Now, I think they went very quick and sort of slowed down at the end, so it made him look a little bit better than he actually was. But, for a horse that's best form is over further, best form's on good ground, won the Ryanair 2 years ago in a scintillating time, beating Don Cossack and loads of horses. I don't think you could ask for much more, really. I think no one really expected him to beat Undersow on his comeback. And, I think, if like I'd had a few quid on at 33 to 1, I have to say I was delighted with his run.
What price did you say he was now, Tom?
I think, Paddy will tell us, but I think 6 to 1.
Paddy, go on.
Yeah, he's 7 to 1. So he's second favourite, 7 to 1. So Undersow's favourite 3s, 7 to 1, and Size and John and Joss still 8 to 1.
Okay. Now, if I said to you boys the word boing as in representing bounce factor, how worried would we be about boing for Undersow? Stuart?
I think you've got to be very worried about it. Like, he looks ripe for it, doesn't he?
Right,
if you had to explain the bounce to someone who'd never been racing before,
explain it.
You'd say it's something that happens to a horse on his second start.
Yeah.
Normally after they ran very credibly on their first, on their reappearance, and especially when they're taking on high-class opposition on their second start.
Do you know what? That sounds like a textbook definition of Uxisandra in this race.
Well, absolutely. I think, put it this way, if Paddy's boys were going to price up who's the most likely horse to bounce at the Cheltenham Festival, he would be the odds-on favourite.
Paddy, have you got a market for that yet?
I'm just working on it. It's funny that you should ask, because I was literally working on that as we speak now. The only thing is, Uxisandra, I mean, this is probably adds to the bounce theory, because you never know, do you? I mean, that's the point. You're going in there and after you say, I didn't back us that, but then, I just think, he normally runs poorly on his reappearance, or normally needs to run. So, I mean, if he just happens to be that much better now after his big long break, that was his prep. I don't know. I don't know. We can argue both ways, I guess. But
that's the point.
It's very negative to go in there thinking he's going to bounce.
I mean, I thought.
We're not trying to be negative, Pat. We're just trying to give the listeners all the options and all the evidence before them.
Of course. I mean, of course, the bounce factor is a possibility, but not all horses bounce. Let's get this straight. It is there and it could happen. But for me, Barry Geraghty gave him a ride, such a sympathetic ride. He never put him in the race. He made a bad mistake at the top of the hill. Look, he would have finished a bit tired because it was tiring ground. But I don't think it was a great race, the Clarence House. I thought it fell apart, and I don't think he would have come home, in any sort of state where he had a really hard race. That's normally what we associate with the bounce factor. For me, if he doesn't bounce, I think he should probably be favourite, in my opinion. And so therefore, you take your money, play your chance. If you think he's going to bounce, then you can avoid him like the plague. But for me, if he doesn't bounce, I think he's got a massive chance.
Well, imagine if the ground is good, and you're going there, then you take your view on the bounce factor. Then, because you're talking Undersow is going to be a drifter, you'd probably put your line through him on good ground, and then you got Uxisandra. Yeah, he could turn out to be good value even at 7.
And you got the visor factor as well, hasn't he? Because when he won it last year, when he won it in 2015, that was visored first time, wasn't he? And he sort of took off, didn't he? He was a totally different horse. He was really keen. And
to Stuart's point, that's going to really suit the way the winners run.
Exactly.
I'm sat next to a guy who's busting a gut to get in. So, Stuart, the floor is yours.
Let's keep talking, Tom. Let's keep talking.
I think Tom just made two really interesting points about this horse. One, when McCoy won the Ryanair on him, he jumped him out and he just went. He was ridden completely differently. I think he'll massively improve for that riding style.
Okay.
I think the other factor is he made a shuddering mistake that day. I think it was 6 out at Cheltenham. And it was right as Ruby was taking the running up. I think Ruby took it up at the next fence. So right as Ruby was putting his foot down on Undersow, and Uxie-Zondra almost came to a standstill, and Barry had to then coax him back into the race. It was impressive he got as close as he did. I cannot see the gap. If he doesn't bounce, if we take the bounce out of it, I cannot see the gap being the same. It has to be smaller. And at the time, I thought, in all likelihood, he'll reverse it. The bounce has worried me slightly. I'm less confident than I was a week ago, but I do think if you take the bounce out of it, he can only be closer.
Listeners, with Mr. Riley worried about the bounce, we go to a commercial break.
Let Paddy Power help you get Cheltenham ready with their new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Get instant access to your winnings at ATMs, online or even in your local supermarket. 18 plus, gambleaware.co.uk, T&Cs apply.
If there's a horse in a box in Ireland with a picture of Douvan on the wall and said horse throws pins at that picture, it's probably Sizing John. That's probably not something that actually happens, but Sizing John Stewart has had an awful lot of ever such disappointing experiences behind Douvan. He won't be meeting Douvan at this Cheltenham Festival. Actually, just in terms of stats, what are the stats about Douvan and Sizing John? Do you know those? You've been good at stats today.
I think he's been behind him 7 times.
Really impressive. He won't be behind him.
Well, it's impressive if it's right.
Well,
Do we know if it's right?
Let's not spoil it.
Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, he's right again. I tell you what.
Seagull
Tell you what,
doubted
this is impressive,
you.
isn't
He was
it?
wrong to doubt
This
you.
is impressive. I'm not going to mention this facial hair anymore. I love it.
You see, you tip all these 33-1 shots that win big races, but when it comes to stats,
I'm useless. That's true.
Riley and his stubble do defeat you. Actually, the producer just pointed out, it says on the running order, 7 times placed behind Douvan.
Oh, you see.
That's spot.
He was cheating.
He's crowing that he knew as well. That's all he's doing there. Stuart, Sizing John, is Sizing John good enough to win a championship race at the Cheltenham Festival? Even the Ryanair chase?
I think he could be, yeah. I mean, this is a horse I have such a soft spot for because I can completely sympathise with him. I went to school with a guy who was the national champion at 400 and 800 metres.
Really?
On sports day, he used to beat me at everything. I'd be
Roger
second,
Black.
100 metres, cross country, didn't matter. He'd beat me at everything. One year, he had to swim for England in the morning, so he wasn't in the hurdles race, and I won that. And then he turned up and won everything else in the afternoon. Like, this is Sizing John's moment. This is his chance. And like Scotland at the weekend, sorry, Paddy, he's got to take it. He just has to take it. I think he's a very good horse, and this is his chance to show how good he is.
Was he good at maths as well?
My friend.
Yeah, like all like that's why he was fit. He could
Yeah.
run fast and do things like that. Was he good at scholarly stuff?
He was a pretty intelligent guy,
Was
yeah.
he?
And he
What
was
about,
really
was he
nice
good
as well.
looking?
wanted
Was he
to
good
be-
looking? What about with
Did
the
he have the
birds?
prettiest girlfriend?
He did, yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, he had it all.
Jesus.
He was that kid. You'd love to hate him, but he was so nice.
What's
He-
he doing
It's
now,
like me
though?
and you, Paddy, yeah?
Just exactly, sounds exactly like me. Yeah.
Boys, have you got any sort of school anecdotes you can bring into your assessment of Sizing John?
No, apart from the fact that he might not turn up. That's more like where I was.
Go on then, Tom. Talk about that.
Well, he's running on Saturday, on Sunday,
that's
isn't he, in
exactly
the
what I was
Irish
saying.
Gold Cup? If he wins that,
You think he might head towards
yeah,
the...
why not?
do you
Why
think?
not? The Pots haven't got a runner in the Gold Cup, as far as I can tell. Allery's blown out.
Well, he runs on Sunday as well, doesn't he? Exeter?
Yeah, I would. Well, if you win the Irish Gold Cup, you're gonna, unless you happen to have the, have the race name, sponsor the race like Ryanair did
Yeah.
last year with Val Salido when he fell at the last. You're more than likely to run in the Gold Cup, I think. After Thistlecrack's defeat the other day, I think people are going to be itching to have a crack at the Gold Cup. I would be wanting to watch Sizing John on Saturday or Sunday, whenever it is in the Irish Gold Cup, because if he wins that, there's every chance he'll run in the Gold Cup for me.
Would you agree, Paddy?
That's the point exactly what I was going to make. Is that, it's one for Nommer event. I think he's got a huge chance in the Ryanair if he goes. And I'm not sure about the Gold Cup, but again, we'll find out on Sunday. And I think if he runs anyway respectively, and as long as he doesn't blatantly not stay, I think I'd heard the same thing. I think they're keen to go have a go at the Gold Cup. So yeah, we mightn't even get to see him in the Ryanair. And it's because it's interesting to Stuart's point about, not that I know much. I wasn't spying on Stuart in his childhood, but it does happen from time to time, doesn't it? You get one chance at it, and almost that's more satisfying to watch than seeing Douvan win 100 times or whatever,
No, that's fair points. Joss's Hill used to be terrifying to watch over a fence. Looks like he can jump these days, Tom. Would he be a serious player, do you think?
At the start of the season, I had a few quid in the King George. I was really disappointed with him in the King George.
Yeah.
I thought he got a really negative rubbish ride. It wasn't Daryl Jacobs' fault, but he sat out last, and that was something that, he's so much better when he forces the pace as he was at Huntingdon and Kempton the time before. You go back through his form, and 3 of his last 5 runs, he beat Godzone 8 lengths, then he won at Kempton again, then he won at Huntingdon. They're all really, really good performances, but he throws in the odd bad one there, and his Cheltenham form is a worry for me. It looks like he likes flat right-handed tracks, judging by Huntingdon and Kempton.
Yeah.
That's where his best form is. I'd just be slightly worried about him round Cheltenham. But on his day, he's supremely talented. If he was to return to that Huntington form and reproduce it at Cheltenham, he's a player for sure, but I'd be worried about him around Cheltenham. I don't think he jumps well enough around there.
Anybody else worried about him around Cheltenham, or not worried about him around Cheltenham?
He was second to Vorteur in a Supreme, wasn't he?
He was.
That was over hurdles, and it's less of a test of jumping.
And he was third in an Arkle,
Yeah.
and he was, but he's just disappointing. Was it in this race last year? I can't remember where he ran last year.
It was this.
Yeah, it's just something about his jumping round there, and I think they need to make the running on him. I think they need to be more positive on him.
You can't all make the run, can they?
No, and that's the problem.
I was going to say, this is the first year ever it'll be for a closer, won't it? With like 17 front runners in the race.
Exactly. Well, if Alexander's in the same form he was when he won it, they won't be able to go as fast as him anyway. So it won't make any difference if they all want to make the running. They won't be able to go with him. But for me, I love him and I dislike him. You see what I mean? He just, there's something about him that makes me want to take him on always.
You love him, but you dislike him as well.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
Complex character,
He keeps enticing you in with a performance in a lesser race that makes you think he's really good, and then he comes to one of the big ones and he sort of lets you down. So, so I sort of get sucked into him all the time, and I always get him wrong, basically.
Is Vanitor a bit like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those that sucks you in and then disappoints you.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Life can be cruel. Anything outside of the horses that we've mentioned so far that you're? I mean, Tom says here another one, Empire of Dirt, recommended by Tom at 25-1.
Yeah, I like this horse, but he's exactly the same as Sizing John. He runs on
Sunday.
he runs on Sunday in the Irish Gold Cup.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good horse, Empire of Dirt. His last 3 runs, they're just off the charts good in my opinion. I mean, he won here. He won the what was it called? I can't remember what the name
plate.
of it is.
The old Marmaya
The
Fleet.
plate. He won the plate really easy, and then he came out this year, first run for Gordon Elliott, stepped up to 3 miles in the Troy Town, off top weight, and he put in a performance just like Bristol De Mai, just like Champagne West, just like all those other ones recently that ran right away from him.
Yeah.
My problem with him is, like as I said with Sizing John, I mean, he's likely, if he runs well on Saturday, and I think he's second favourite for the race on Saturday, then he's probably going to go to the Gold Cup. The only thing I'd say is the Ryanair.
Who owns him?
He is Gigginstown.
Yeah.
And looking through the prices, I can't see any sub-lieutenants there who will probably run, but I don't think anyone thinks he's good enough. Road to Riches has sort of lost his way.
Yeah.
Can't see Outlander running, so.
No.
So there is a chance he could turn up here. My personal opinion is that he'll run well on Saturday and he'll end Sunday. I keep getting that wrong. He'll run well on Sunday and end up in the Gold Cup.
Okay. Could this be a race for Vroom Vroom Mag? Let's go around the panel now. Stuart, which race will Vroom Vroom Mag run in at the Cheltenham Festival, and which race should Vroom Vroom Mag run in at the Cheltenham Festival?
The Mare's Hurdle and the Mare's Hurdle.
Okay. Paddy.
The cross country. No, I'm joking. Is there a squeak she'd turn up in the champion hurdle?
Well, that's what I was wondering.
I was thinking between the Stayers and the champion, but that was kind of way back when. I think she'll probably end up in the mares. They have Limini for the mares as well.
Yeah.
Maybe do they have anyone for the Stayers now? I mean, maybe the
Shane
Stayers.
Shane Sill's about 6-7 to 1.
Yeah, but they're the Rich Richie colours. Rich Richie. So I think
No.
maybe she'll end up there.
And Tom?
I think she'll run in the champion.
And which race should she run in?
I think she should run in the Stayers.
Right.
But I think the champion. I don't think she's got any chance of running in a chase myself.
Right.
She hasn't run it. I mean, Willie's always said that he's not going. He'd have to run her in a chase before he went to Cheltenham to run her in a chase. I don't think there's any chance she'll run in that at all.
So no Ryanair for Vroom Vroom.
None at all, I would imagine.
Black Hercules.
Well, he's been
Zabana.
terrible, hasn't he? Back
He has been
Hercules this
disappointing,
season.
hasn't he? Yeah.
I don't know what the boys think, but he's shown absolutely nothing, hasn't he, in 3
He's
runs?
my dark horse for the race.
I think the thing with Black Hercules is he's a horse who, this time last year, he was favourite for the 4-miler.
Yes.
And this year, he's been running over, really insufficient trips. He ran over 2 miles on one start. I think he's kind of been underplayed this season. I think his performance in the JLT if he turns up and does that again, I can see him hitting the places.
Why have they underplayed him, do you think?
Well, I think because they want to try and keep all their horses apart. They've got a few for different races. So in a mind to getting him to the Ryanair, they've run him at 2.5 and 2 miles. And actually, the Ryanair's a race for a 3-miler, and he is a 3-miler, and he's just been running over trips he's not been able to excel over.
Right.
But then last time I'm just looking here, he was beaten 14.5 lengths by Size and John in Thurles. So he's got a lot to turn around. But I just take it back to it was a bit of a punt, wasn't he, at the track last year? He wasn't one anti-post or anything like that. But he went off joint favourite for the JLT and he won. He beat Bristol to Mai, which is obviously turned out to be good form as well.
Has indeed.
Ram Outlander was in there too. Yeah, I'd like to mention Gary Moore's horses, Lee.
Go on, mention him. Tom, mention him.
I think he's not going to run them all, is he? In the champion chase, I think one of them.
Armad's not going to Cheltenham. We know that now.
Is it definitely out of Cheltenham?
He's out of the Cheltenham Festival. Breaking news: Armad is out of the Cheltenham Festival.
My spies, if I have one, which I don't, are saying that Traffic Fluid's going really well at the moment. He's running against Altior on Saturday over 2 miles. I think he's crying out for 2.5. Whether if he runs well on Saturday, he'll probably go for the champion chase. But he's a pretty good horse. I think he's been off the track for ages. And if we're talking, he might be joining.
I was going to say we get a result in the bounce market.
Favourite, yeah. You might be joining him there if he runs well on Saturday. But I think he's a good horse, and I think he's the type of horse that could surprise.
When you said to him, "If I had spies," which I don't. Do you have spies? I mean, who is telling you this? That Traffic Fluid's going well.
Gary does a column for one of the bookies, doesn't he? And he writes in there. Okay. He writes in there that Traffic Fluid's going for Saturday. And he's been working well. I mean, I don't think it's. I'm not displaying any confidences there. I think he's going to go well.
Okay. I think we've mentioned pretty much all the horses we want to mention.
We should mention Tak and Asoy before we go.
Go on, Tak. Well,
he's won it before.
Yeah, go on.
He's won it before. Was really good in the Paddy Power, wasn't he? That's good form. Didn't stay probably 3 miles last year. I don't know if he'll run in this, but I think he's a good horse, isn't he?
Okay, well, he's a good horse. You make a good point. Now is a good time to have a commercial break, and then when we return, we'll have some selection. So, listeners, hold yourself in readiness.
Let Paddy Power help you get Cheltenham ready with their new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Get instant access to your winnings at ATMs, online, or even in your local supermarket. 18+, gambleaware.co.uk, T&Cs apply.
Okay, boys, I'm now going to ask you for a selection and a dark horse in the Ryanair chase. Who would like to go first?
I don't mind. Okay, Tom.
No, you go, Paddy. Go on, Paddy.
Paddy, you're sponsored. Okay. You're paying for this, Paddy. You go first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll go first and second and third. No, I think Black Hercules is my dark horse. He's what price? He's about 16 to 1. He's 16 to 1. And the other one that another one that I'm not sure if it's going to run because it's running on Sunday again, like the whole bloody race, is Zabana. And I think if Zabana turned up on the day, I think it was the one that last year flicked around the start and David Russell fell off in the JLT. But I think just Zabana I think is just a really good jumper, and the previous year had good Cheltenham form, just got touched off in one of the handicap hurdles, and I just think that this could be the ideal race for him. But once again, he'll probably go for the Gold Cup so wait till you get nominal on a bet.
Okay, Tom, what are your two?
Well, I like Uxixandra most. I obviously am slightly concerned about the bounce factor. As I said earlier, if Empire of Dirt was to run, I'd like him, but I think Traffic Fluid, I'd love to see him run well after, but I'd watch him on Saturday first.
Okay, perfect. And Stuart, King of Stats and Stubble?
I am with Sizing John. And my dark horse is one we've not mentioned yet, actually. God's Own.
God's Own Melling Chase winner.
Absolutely. Punchestown winner, beat Vauteur. He's been second in an Arkle, fourth in a champion chase. He's very much a spring horse. I think he's crying out for the step up in trip. He's been kept fresh. I think there's a lot to like about him at a big price. He runs very well at these meetings every year.
Have you mentioned 6 horses between the three of you?
Come on, Lee, what about you? You're the king of the old preview night. What are you going to say when you go to your preview nights?
For which I do for nothing as well, I should point out.
This charitable work you don't like talking about, I know.
Because I do it for nothing. It's a London Racing Club on the Thursday before the Cheltenham Festival. Well worth attending, listeners.
So come on then, what are you going to be your pearls of wisdom to all those millions of London Racing Club fans?
Well, it's boring. boring, isn't it, really? But I do think Undersay, there's a bit of juice in the ground.
Jesus, they're paying you to tell them that Undersay's going to win.
That's my point. They're not paying me. I do it for nothing.
Oh, okay.
I do it for the art, Tom.
He tips up the unnamed Fav.
Exactly. You're going to give him Duvan as well while you're there.
Each way, Duvan. Each way. Well, this isn't time for character assassination. This is time for me to say, listeners, thank you for joining us for this Ryanair Chase preview. Mr. Riley, Mr. Power, Mr. Siegel, thanks awfully. We shall return on Tuesday when we're looking ahead to the Supreme and the Neptune. Until then, stay safe. Goodbye.
Paddy Power stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC. Unlike some other high street bookies, Paddy Power, you beauty!
Excellent, chaps. Thanks so much.
Cheers,
Thanks,
boys.
Thanks,